Welcome back. Stalking is another form of prohibited conduct under Title IX. Stalking is defined as a course of physical or verbal conduct consisting of at least two acts directed at another individual, which could reasonably be regarded as likely to alarm, harass, or cause fear of harm or injury to the individual to a third party. The feared harm or injury may be physical, emotional, psychological, or otherwise related to the personal safety, property, education, or employment of the individual or third party. Stalking may include, but is not limited to, pursuing, following, waiting for, surveilling and monitoring, or cyberstalking the individual, or showing up uninvited at or near a residence, workplace, classroom, or other place frequented by the individual. This slide also shows other exemplar tactics of action that may constitute stalking, but let's get a little bit more into stalking with this video.
Here's Jen. Jen really just wants to do her thing and be left alone. But then there's Nick. At first, Nick seems cool. Like with many stalkers, Jen knows Nick and even went out with him a few times, so she's not surprised when he texts and emails her, or when he's sometimes there when her class gets out, or when he just happens to show up at the dining hall when she's there. But when Jen does normal things like saying no thanks to Nick's invitations, Nick starts to become more aggressive.
He texts her more often, and the texts start getting mean. He starts asking where she is or why she didn't go to her chem class today. He might start sending long emails about her, or them as a couple, or what a great guy he is. Finally, Jen confronts Nick and tells him to stop. They argue. Nick says he was just being friendly and that he just wants to be with her.
Now Jen sees an even angrier side of Nick. He starts to diss her on social media. He starts showing up more, almost every day. His messages become more obsessive, even threatening. Soon Jen notices someone is messing with her stuff.
At this point, Jen needs to know these behaviors might be signs that Nick will turn violent. Here's what Jen needs to realize about Nick. Nick was becoming obsessed with her from the start. She believes that Nick wants to control her, where she goes, who she sees.
Seeing her occasionally wasn't enough, so he watched more. She probably didn't notice him watching from a distance, seeing who she was with. Nick wanted to be closer, so he started showing up at her classes, at parties, at her room.
He was always online when she was online. In Nick's mind, he was making his plans come true. When Jen got mad at Nick, that really hurt him. But at least it was interaction. The one thing Nick doesn't want is to be cut off.
Nick needs to show Jen how committed he is and how much control he has. So he posts things about her online and he vandalizes her dorm room door. But nothing will ever be enough for Nick. And if he threatens to harm himself, she should only contact the police but not otherwise engage Nick.
What Jen didn't know was that Nick might not stop after being confronted and that this is a serious matter that could lead to harm. While nothing Jen did made it her fault she's being stalked, to help build a case against Nick, she could have kept a record of all her encounters with him, including time, dates, and locations.
She also could have alerted campus and local police. Even if they couldn't take immediate action against Nick, it's important she started to build a record. Most of all, Jen needs to cut off all interaction with Nick.
This means walking with friends when she can, taking different routes to classes, and changing up her schedule. In terms of things online, it would be smart for Jen to change all her passwords, get a new phone number, change social media accounts, and only notify friends she trusts most.
She'll want to ask friends not to post anything about her on social sites. She'll want to decline invites from people, polls, or websites she doesn't know and trust. And she'll want to not post personal information about herself, where she'll be, when she's alone, etc.
She'll want to be sure not to post pictures that reveal her location and to use the most secure privacy settings for all her sites and devices.
If stalking ever happens to you, remember the best things you can do are to log the incidents, stay in contact with authorities, protect your privacy as best you can, and cut off all other contact with the stalker.
Also remember, it's not your fault.
Another form of prohibited conduct is intimate partner violence. Intimate partner violence refers to any act of violence or threatened act of violence or abuse, verbal, physical, or psychological, sexual, or otherwise, against a person with whom one is or has been involved in a sexual, dating, domestic, or other intimate relationship. Intimate partner violence is often referred to as dating violence, domestic violence, or relationship violence. Intimate partner violence encompasses a broad range of behaviors, including but not limited to physical violence, sexual violence, emotional violence, and economic abuse. Let's learn a little bit more about intimate partner violence.
Wow, glad you're here. I just found out that one of my best friends was in an abusive relationship for so long, and none of us knew anything about it. I'm heartbroken. I thought we told each other everything. Maybe if I had spoken up, she would have talked to me about it sooner. So, here goes.
Intimate partner violence, sometimes called teen dating violence or domestic violence, is a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship. An intimate partner is a person's boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, partner, or lover. Intimate partner violence may include different kinds of abuse. Physical abuse may include hitting, kicking, punching, or other kinds of physical violence. Emotional abuse may not include physical violence, but it can be equally as harmful. When someone is abused emotionally, they may be called names, humiliated, yelled at, or made to feel intimidated. The abuser may try to control the other person by telling them what to do, what to wear, or where they can and cannot go. Financial abuse is when a person tries to control and limit their partner's access to money so that the partner will be dependent on them. One example would be if the person discouraged or disallowed the partner to work and make their own money. Another is if the person takes the partner's money or credit cards and refuses to give them back. Another form of abuse is known as stalking and harassment. Stalking or harassing someone may include spying on them or following them around and constantly showing up where they are or refusing to leave when asked. Stalking also can include sending harassing or unwanted emails, texts, or posts. Finally, there is partner abuse that involves sexual abuse. This type of violence is when a person forces their partner to participate in sexual acts or behaviors without their consent or ignores the partner's sexual boundaries. Just because a person is in an intimate relationship with someone doesn't mean that they must have sex with them or do sexual things that they find uncomfortable or demeaning. If you or someone you know is being abused in a relationship, it's important to know that it's never the fault of the abused person, and it's important to ask for help. To get help, you can talk to the school counselor, a social worker, or another trusted adult. A great resource if you need information, support, or advice is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. You can check out their website at www.thehotline.org or call 1-800-799-7233. Remember, domestic violence is not love. Someone who really loves you wouldn't try to physically harm you, control you, make you feel bad about yourself, or force you to do something that you don't want to do. A loving and healthy relationship is about consent, respect, and honoring who you are as an individual.
Till next time, don't forget to visit me at amaze.org or go to my YouTube channel to watch more. Bye!
The final form of prohibited conduct I'd like to discuss is that of incapacitation. Incapacitation is a state where an individual cannot make an informed and rational decision to engage in sexual activity because the person lacks conscious knowledge of the nature of the act or is physically helpless. An individual is incapacitated and therefore unable to give consent if they are asleep, unconscious, unable to understand the fact, nature, or extent of sexual activity due to the impact of drugs, alcohol, or medication, unable to communicate due to a mental or physical condition, or otherwise unaware that sexual activity is occurring. If an individual is incapacitated, they are not able to give consent. But what is consent? On your document, on your computer, or on a new sheet of paper, please take a minute to write down how you would define consent. Consent consists of an affirmative conscious decision by each participant to engage in mutually agreed upon sexual activity. The following are essential elements of effective consent. It is informed and reciprocal, which means all parties must demonstrate a clear and mutual understanding of the nature and scope of the act to which they are consenting, and the willingness to do the same thing at the same time in the same way. Consent is freely and actively given, so it's unmistakable via words or actions. Consent is clear, direct communication. Consent is knowing, fully conscious, not impaired by drugs or alcohol. Consent is ongoing and confirmed at each level of sexual activity. Consent is voluntary. All are willing participants in the act. Consent is required. It's not inferred from clothing, alcohol consumption, or dancing. And consent is no always means no, only yes means yes. Some states have enacted state-level laws in regard to consent. California is one of the states to enact this type of law. Let's learn a little bit more about consent here in the state of California.
The Not Anymore campaign from Student Success is asking for this many seconds of your time to discuss the new law, yes, law, about sexual consent and assault in California.
The new Yes Means Yes law is pretty simple. That means anything that isn't a clear and distinct yes is not consent for sexual activity.
You can't just think you have consent because there's no strong signal that you don't.
You have to think you don't have consent unless you get a clear signal that you do.
Here's some language from the law.
Affirmative consent means affirmative, conscious, and voluntary agreement to engage in sexual activity.
It's the responsibility of each person involved to ensure that he or she has the affirmative consent of the other or others.
Lack of protest or resistance does not mean consent.
Affirmative consent must be ongoing for sexual activity and can be revoked at any time.
Being intoxicated or reckless is not an excuse for failing to get affirmative consent.
An affirmative consent cannot be given by someone who's asleep,
unconscious, incapacitated, or under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication,
or unable to communicate due to a mental or physical condition.
Time's almost up. Remember, the law is clear.
Affirmative consent means affirmative consent.
Only a yes is a yes.
Can there be consent without yes?
Not anymore.
Not
anymore.
Not anymore.
It's time for a knowledge check.